Welcome gamers to Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova. This is the Warlords / version 2.5, which is the Ares update for this incredible space 4X game. My name is DasTactic. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to this one. This is a one-off video about the changes and going through in detail what those changes are. Then I do plan on doing a couple of live streams where we sort of can then start to really sort of see these things in action. So if you're watching this pretty much around the time that I'm actually uploading it, within a few days' time, you'll start to see the first and then the second of those two live streams. I do want to thank StarDoc for sponsoring this particular video. So thank you, StarDoc, for that one. Very much appreciated. There is actually a link in the top corner up there where you can actually then go and grab the game. It'll just link you straight through to the Steam page to grab the base game or the Warlords DLC, whichever way you want to go with that. This video, though, we're going to be talking a lot about essentially what the changes are that have come to this version. This is quite an exciting version for me. This is my most anticipated DLC of the year, and it's been something that I'm really very impressed with the changes. I still think there's room for improvement. I have actually passed on screeds of feedback because I've been playing this a lot. I've been thoroughly enjoying it, but just little things are sort of missing. So if I notice them as I'm showing you things, I will mention them as well, just so that you're going in with fully open eyes. So I'm not sort of under any instruction to sugarcoat things or anything like that. So rest assured, I'm just going to give you my my honest opinion and appraisal about that. But as I said, this is sponsored content, so if you are concerned about my objectivity, then at least you know that is actually a factor that's happening. I certainly won't be purposely saying anything nice about the game. I do really genuinely enjoy this game a hell of a lot, as in enormously, and I really do like the changes that have come with this particular DLC. Right, let's just get through it. There's a whole lot of things that have changed in the game. I'm just going to go and continue again where we are. I'm also going to then present where we are if you are interested in watching the live streams, just so that you get a bit of a feel for how we got to where we are. I'm going to be going beyond. I'm going to be cheating. There's so many different cheats in this game, where you can actually then sort of just go and get things. There's a lot that gets uncovered in the mid-late game with both the Ares update, which is 2.5, and also with the Warlords expansion. And so I do want to show those, and so I will actually. This will probably be a longish video, I would guess. Anyway, I'll go through the major updates of what StarDoc calls the major updates, and we can basically start from there and just go into it. Now, the first of the major updates, and I'm going to do all the battle stuff at the end of this, but just the first of the major updates is you now actually have a trade route screen, which is quite helpful actually, straight on your open. On your dock, essentially on your user interface dock, rather than it being hidden away like it used to be hidden. And I always forget where it was. I think it was under Civilization, and then you actually had trade route breakdown in there. But they have actually changed the overall look of this, and you can sort of see that this is actually what it now looks like. But the same screen is no longer just hidden away inside here. It's also here. So it's directly on your user interface, so you can just go straight into there and pick up the trade breakdown. So you've then got full access into your trade routes, and it's nicely presented. It's sort of giving you the total value of the actual trade that's happening, how many licenses you actually have, and then if there's multiple originating or everyone's just trading with my capital, and my capital is also then trading with other factions. You can sort of see there that essentially we've got 3 trade routes going off into other different locations, and then we have one, like the Drengen, are then trading back with us. And so we have outgoing and incoming, and so any planet that you actually have a trade situation with will then display it's in a list down through here. Very nice way of actually doing it. It sort of just gives all the information that you need to know. You've got the values as they sort of come back through in here as well, to sort of see exactly what you are getting from those trade routes, which is really, really awesome actually. It's such a nice clean way of doing this. Anyway, that's just a nice user interface addition. I've got to say, StarDoc does such a great job with their user interface. I absolutely love it. It's why I think I sort of rate the game so highly, because it really, there's very few games that are strategy games that actually do it anywhere near as well. For me, it's just a beautiful presentation of what they actually then go and do. All the little changes that they've made in the preceding months as well, it all just works, you know, like it's just awesomely good. Now, actually, just while I'm talking about the interfaces that we actually have down the bottom here, there is one thing that I really wish that they would add in, and maybe it does sort of fit back in more of the civilization. I'll just mention, as I said, I'm going to just mention these things, even though, you know, like it's just little things that I sort of have a bit of a gripe with. I would love to have a global button like what they've got down through here to manage your civilians, because the civilians on the planets can be often particularly now that we can actually move them around, we really do need a way of having like a spreadsheet type view, like what we have with the trade route breakdown, essentially, where we actually then have all of the details about the civilians on all the different worlds, and you know, where we can sort them and figure out who should be where and things like that. That would be just awesome. It'd be great if it was sort of somewhere fairly standard, like, you know, whether it be here or out in the main user interface. Maybe it doesn't need to be on the main user interface, but also I would love to see that in the in a planet. Like if we just go into our capital here and open her up. At the moment, for us to do this, we have to then go and hover over each one of these, try to figure out, okay, we know it's a scientist, but you know, what does it end up doing? What's their approval? It would just be really nice if all of this was presented in a spreadsheet type view. And it would be great. Now that they've got the transports, it's sort of one of these things where you do need to be figuring out who you're going to be sending off where, and so it does need something like that. I'm almost thinking, have I missed it? Is it somewhere and I just haven't seen it? Because it seems to me so important. Anyway, I thought I'd just mention it while we're talking about user interface stuff. That's one of them. Actually, another thing that we did actually have a look and see, which we just skipped over. I'll just go back out. We now actually, if we go back to the civilization screen, there's a second button down here, the fleet-wide commands. This is new in the game as well. And so what this one then ends up doing is it allows you to give civilization-wide commands to your shipyards and fleets. And so you can see there we've got commands to shipyards, commands to ships, and command to fleet. So if we wanted to globally change something in the game, like just with what's going on, we can then just go across essentially, like if I've got ships, it's got going to or of type. If I pick a different type, I can then sort of go and say, okay, look, I want all of my what have I got? I've got a siege ship. I didn't even realize I had a siege ship there. Anyway, I don't know where that one actually is, but I know I've got a few beam frigates. So if I say, okay, all ships of type beam frigate should go to, and I can then tell it where to go. And we can actually then go and put down also locations ourselves into the game. So we can actually then go and allocate a location. Actually, this is another thing I do have another gripe about. So let's just talk a bit about that one. I'll just show you how to do that while we're here. If we had to go and add in a pointer, and a bit of a tip, if you go into here, you've got this little icon in here to set the rally points, but these are super useful for all sorts of different things. Now, rally points by default come off your locations here, but they're also extremely useful if you have I'm trying to see if I've got something that I can spot. If there was some, like, actually I know where there's some. They've got some over here. But sometimes there'll be like groups or collections of monsters or something like that that are spawning. Is that a spawn? No, that's not a spawn. Maybe they've been destroyed by now. But let's just say that was actually a group that we wanted to keep tabs on, but we weren't going to have vision in there. This is where setting up like one of these is actually really cool. Set a rally point. You just have to be careful that the rally point isn't then activated, and it is by default. So you can actually go and click on this one and just go to new rally point and just go across and just click on it and just sort of say, okay, look, this is now the deep space rally point. But we could just put, I like to use this for notes. So if we just go across, hang on, if I just go back in there again, deep space rally point, I'll just call this one monsters. Now, unfortunately, my starbase will now be wanting to go off and send them that way, I think. Yeah, so it's actually now activated to monsters, but we want to we want to go back to the shipyard, back in through there. So we just want it to essentially just not go off to this destination. But this is a nice way of actually just having all of your destinations, essentially using them as notes as well as actual destinations. But now that I've got that in there, if I just go and cancel that. So I would love this if this wasn't just inside the, oops, God, what am I doing? Using the middle mouse button. I wish it wasn't activated and controlled from within the actual the shipyards. I would love that to just be somewhere, again, out in the open, that you can just use it any old time. I think that would be really, really cool to be able to go and grab that. Even on the side here would be something that I would love, you know, just because it could be so useful. And now that we actually have this extra tool, it's actually sort of makes it even more viable to do that. And actually, that's another case in point, to design a ship. And this is now becoming much, much more important in the game than what it was a year ago, like, because there's so much you can do with ships now. This is where you then so you've got to go into one of these places to then access your ship designer. This should also be accessible, even if these are somehow combined and just had them nice and out in the open, so you can then just do what you have to do. I would love that, just so that they're not actually hidden away. We'll talk about the ship designer, of course, towards the end of this particular presentation. But right now, yeah, we're just talking about these things. So if we go back into our civilization screen, fleet-wide commands, we should now see that monsters is the rally point is actually now there. So we can actually go and click that one. And so all ships of type beam frigate MO should go to monsters. And so they'll then move off if, you know, at that particular point. I can also do fleets as well. So we've got fleets. It's only if they're going to an actual location, and at this stage my fleets are just all off doing their own thing, but so I can't really sort of go and grab them from there. I mean, the other way of doing this, if you are interested in thinking, well, how can I manage an existing fleet, you actually already have tools to sort of allow you to do your fleets one by one. And so if I just go back out and just click on done and go back up to here to ships, the ships will then be shown in fleets. So we've got like the actual different sorts of, any collection of fleets will then sort of be shown. So eventually you'll just, you know, you'll be able to sort of open it up and see what's inside there, to see what's inside the actual collections of ships that are there, whether they be fleets, whatever else they might actually be. So you can sort of see them in through there. I don't know if there's an easy way. Let's sort by name, sort by, yeah, by attack, defense, sensor range. Yeah, it's not actually showing the, it's got like by logistics, so maybe that'll bring your bigger ships up towards the top. Yeah, there's my cruiser. Yeah, so there's a range of different sorts of ships in through here as well. But that's sort of, so that is actually now doing it by logistics. Anyway, that's another way of actually sort of accessing your ships, your fleets, if you are wanting to sort of manually control them a different way, if you are running short on things. The game is designed, by the way, to be played at a fairly large scale. So that's why there are so many different user interface helpers. The next big change actually with the game is the tech trees. The tech trees are now split, not just into 4, which is what they were before, but they're now split into 6. So we've actually sort of got like a few different areas. One of the areas has been essentially split out into 3, which allows the game to actually then sort of do more within the actual different regions. So we've still got the engineering, which I mean, I forget where everything actually was. I think some things have been taken out of here. Yeah, we've got, you know, star bases, etc. back in through there. Science will then sort of give you your planetology, your research down through here, your archaeology down the bottom through there as well. Weapons is now purely to do with actual weaponry. It's sort of funny. This is actually another piece of feedback I've given. I'm going through all the negatives, all the things that I'm wanting to have changed. I really hope that this gets put down with the other ships. These armed shuttles should really be something that we end up doing through the logistics screen, which I'll show you in just a minute. But these then split out between your beam weapons, your kinetic weapons, your railguns, and then your missile systems, along with experimental weapons down the bottom through there. So that's where your different weapon systems are. They sort of continue on a fair way through the tech tree. You can see it goes a long, 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 long way. So they've been able to add in, and this is where there's been so much extra things added in to this particular warfare update, just to allow you a lot of nuance If you really wanted to sort of go down a particular tree to sort of get something in particular, you now can do that. It's going to be sort of like mid-late game before you really get the benefit of it. But you can imagine, like in a massive star system, just the amount of updating that you're going to then be able to do over time, it's really quite exceptional. So again, it allows you to specialize in different types or whatever else you want to be doing. So there's a lot more scope in the way that you approach the design of your ships in the game because of the way that the tech tree has been sorted. Defenses are very similar, where they've actually got the your basic defenses back in through here, then split off into armor and shielding, essentially. So you've got the two different areas back and through there. Then we've got other different aspects, going through the actual through the various ships. But essentially, just armor and shieldings are the two different areas for the defenses that we see in this particular grouping. The next one is logistics, and this is actually a really interesting one because what they've done is they've built like anything that's really to do with the actual ships themselves, like constructing. That's why I'm thinking that really space shuttles should really be back down in here where we have the frigates, for example. So you want to have your tiny ships before your small ships. And then from there, you've then got your various battle cruisers, and I'll talk about the different ship types coming up fairly soon, etc., etc. So you've got like this is now also been split right out. This is a special area that we end up having for the group that we're playing. So you've got like unique techs as well for your different groups. But the tech tree has certainly had a lot of love. As I say, just a few little things that I would hope would be shuffled at some point, just to make it make a bit more sense. Okay, then along with that, we've then got a whole heap of ship components. I think I'll actually now go and start the cheats, and so we can sort of get that one done. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually unlocked all of the techs with a secret cheat. Actually, I might just show you how to do the cheats, just so you're aware of them. There's heaps and heaps of them, by the way. So all you do is you've got to set up like a command. You might have to look that one up, but your Steam, you do need to have like a command set up to run in Steam that you're going to allow cheats. Then you just press the tilt key, which brings up the console. And you can see I just used the fast unlock command to then unlock all of the actual text. To see the list of text, you just type the word in help once you've got this thing open, and it will then sort of show you all of the various cheats that you can then sort of play with. So it's not fun to play with them as part of the game, but if you're wanting to sort of see how something works, it can be useful to do that, and that's what we want to be doing right now. So let's go into and have a look at the actual combat, or the different types of ships and what we can do with the ships now as well. So these are like, if you've played the previous versions of the game, you're aware of the ship sizes and the ship classes. And so the way it sort of works is we've got tiny, small, medium, large, and huge. So we've got sort of like 5 size categories that we then actually go to play with in the actual sizing. You'll notice that the screen has changed a lot. We've now got like a Doctrine area, which has just come in. This is still in the free version, so you'd actually have access to some of it, but there's a lot that has been added into the Warlords version that goes well beyond the free version. I'll try to point out which is which as we go through it, just so you've got like an understanding of the actual list that you're actually looking at. Right, so if you don't have the Warlords version, there's going to be some classes in here that you won't see. So, for example, the Corvette is something that you won't have access to unless you have the Warlords DLC. The Destroyer is another ship that you won't have unless you have the Warlords DLC. And the other one is, which one is it? Which one is it? It's the command ship. Command, where are we? Oh, this one here. Yeah, and so this is a large capital ship. And so they're one of each of the sizes. Let's just go through the sizes as I was just talking about before. So the smallest ones are your fighters. You can see they're tiny combat ship and bomber, tiny combat ship. Everyone has access to those. We had them there forever, basically. So these are, and if you've been playing the game for any length of time, you know that the fighters, their job is to destroy the bombers and protect the fleet. The bombers is to destroy the big ships. That's sort of really what their goal has always been, like particularly in version 4 of Gal Civ. Then we've got the small ships. The frigates is the one that everyone has access to, and the Corvette only if you've got the Warlords DLC do you have access to the Corvette. I'll explain the differences about these different ships as we get into it a little bit deeper. This is where the whole Doctrine mechanism, which is brilliant really in its simplicity, because look, one of the design goals of Stardock is to actually allow you to play a game where you don't have to micromanage every battle. And originally, like if you've watched videos, older videos of mine, I was quite scathing in the fact that I was really wanting to have tactical battles. But like that's because I play small games. I don't play the big, huge, sprawling sort of empires that you can actually have in the game. And so when I realised that actually that's why they have to go with an auto battle system. Like I no longer want tactical battles in the game. I can see it just will not work. But I still want to have a lot of choice and agency into the decision making of the auto battle system, and the doctrine system that they've put in is what this actually is. Now, the doctrines are here to an extent in the free 2.5 Ares version of the game, but it's something you get to control and adapt in the Warlords version of the game. And so the way it works, as I said before, we've got the fighter and bombers are both in here as a tiny ships. We've got the frigate, which everyone has access to, always has had. The Corvette is a new small combat ship that's come in. Then we have the cruiser, which everyone has access to, and then the destroyer, which is Warlords only. And then we have the battleship coming back down into here. Everyone has had access to this one, and then the command ship down through this other side as well. The Dreadnought, everyone has had access to this one. I think I never get that far into the game, to be honest, to get that one. But we have another huge one as well. This is a carrier. Now, my understanding is that this is available also for people with the free version. So you do get the carrier, but the Warlords, of course, get that one as well. Where this is cool is because these have got different doctrines. Now, you don't get to edit it if you don't have the Warlords DLC, but you can if you do have the Warlords DLC. So if I go back up to, for example, I mean, a good one is even just look at the Corvettes and cruisers, or even the destroyers, the cruisers and destroyers, which are the same sort of size. These are both mediums. If you ever look at the cruiser, for example, and just click on it, we can see certain things. So cruiser category ships are medium hull vessels that have increased weapon range. And so it's giving us a bit of information, and where it comes in, it just gives us the hit points, the hull integrity of 60, hull size is medium. As I said before, that sizing is consistent throughout the previous games and also in this game. Equipment space of 42. And you'll notice that if I go to the destroyer, we're not going to see any difference in here. These are identical in everything that they do in terms of the hull size. So it's still a medium hull size with different doctrines applied to it. And so this one's got tactical speed of 150 kilometers per second, acceleration of 40 kilometers per second squared, and the ship class is a combatant class. The destroyer, you'll see, is identical in the actual description. So destroyer category ships are medium hull ships that have decreased weapon cooldown. They fire faster. So how is this working? This is the actual doctrine that we see in through here for these two different ships. This one here's got the ship type is cruiser, and it has the plus 10% weapon range. Now, the ship type does not change. So all destroyers will have the faster weapons. All cruisers will have the 10% weapon range. And so depending on which one you want to then be, because these unlock together, so you unlock both of these together at the same time, because you're unlocking the medium hulls. So you, like, again, if you've got the Warlords, you can have the choice between the two. If you don't have the Warlords, you only have the cruiser. Still good, but it's not as good as if you've got the Warlords DLC. Then you've got the operational ability, and what this one does is it allows you to then add in something else. Now, in this case, the doctrine that's been added into the cruiser is Barrage, which actually gives it a negative 25% weapon cooldown, which actually makes it fire faster than the destroyers. This is the new stuff that's sort of been added into the game, this whole doctrine area down through here. And then we've got the destroyer back in through here is a focused fire, and so it does more damage. So you end up with a 10% extra damage coming from the actual ship itself. And so this is the way it sort of does work. If you've, like again with the Warlords DLC, you can then like if you're playing in the base game, you're going to have I think you've got this one in through here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got barrage. I think all the ones that are by default are in the free game. So you will still see the doctrine, but you won't see an edit doctrine. That will be a grayed out box that will then tell you you need to have the Warlords DLC to edit it. I'll show you that in just a second. But this is actually, so there's a fair few of the operational abilities as we just go through them. The fighter is barrage as well. Weapon cooldown goes down. This has got better evasion. The bomber has got 10% damage, and it's a giant slayer, so plus 50% attack against large and huge hull ships. So against your dreadnoughts, your command ships, your battleships, and your carriers, this is going to be what's going to be then sort of taken forward into the fights. So that's actually sort of what the bombers do. The frigates, and again, it's nicely laid out. You can sort of see exactly what's going on through here. The frigate is got 25% accuracy and it's defender. So plus 50% accuracy against fighters and bombers. And so it's good against the small craft. Corvettes have got plus 25% hit points, and they also have they can actually move fast. So 25% tactical speed. To sort of then get closer into the fighting a bit earlier. The cruisers, with again weapon range and cooldown, destroyer, weapon cooldown, and then more damage. Battleships, extra armor, so 10% armor, and then better precision, so they've got 25% accuracy. The command ships have got so minus 10% weapon cooldown, and for everyone in the fleet. So if you've got a command ship, now again, you only have the command ship if you've got the Warlords DLC, but this one allows all of the ships to fire faster, which can make a massive difference, but it does actually come at the cost of hit points for this particular ship. This is quite a weak, susceptible ship. It does have the operational abilities command, so allies have a plus 10% accuracy, minus 25% hit. Now this is, the command is not something you get available because you don't need it unless you've got the Warlords DLC. So if you've only got the 2.5 version, you're not going to see this in any of your ships. But this is a specialized ship that you get when you unlock the large sizes. The Dreadnought is huge. This one's got shield strength goes up and precision. Again, we've seen precision before. The Carrier has got carries additional fighters and bombers into battles, but it's got no operational ability. And so the targeting priorities here is return fire only, so attacks only when attacked first. So this one stays right out of the combat. So that's sort of where we are with everything. You'll notice that there's also targeting priorities down the bottom through here as well. Again, these have been really fleshed out for the people with the Warlords DLC, but there is still a basic collection that you sort of see through there. And so if we go in, let's just go to, say, the standard old cruiser, and we'll have a look and see what we can then do inside the doctrines. And this is the reason I'm not going to be doing a very good job of explaining this until I can actually show it with actual combat. But one of the interesting things in here is that you can sort of analyze what your opponents have got, and then try to build ships that can then defeat those ships. And so there's going to be a lot of cat and mouse now in the way that you approach the doctrines to prepare your fleets to go into combat. So it's not just a matter of just building a class, or it can be just a matter of just building a class of ship and just letting it do its thing. But you may decide, like if you sort of figure out that there's an enemy bomber that is using missiles, but you need to sort of destroy it quickly, then you're going to need high accuracy, you're going to need fast shooting, you're probably going to need beam weapons to go up against it, things like this. And so the combination of doctrine and ship design can have a massive bearing on the actual outcome of battles. And this is the aspect of that agency and the choice that you make going into combat for the auto battler. And so again, for something for me that where I was just wanting tactical battles, this is awesome because it still gives me a lot of decision making in the lead up to battles, and then of course if something is countered effectively by the AI, then you've got to then sort of rethink your doctrines and sort of start again type thing, which is awesome. I'm really so excited about this aspect of it. It's really so inspired because it's like it's a simple system when it executes in the game that gives you a lot of choice in the lead up to the actual combat. I hope that makes sense. I probably haven't really done that justice, but it really is quite awesome. Let's get into the actual doctrine sequence to see what's happening. We've got the cruiser selected. If I go into Edit Doctrine and click on it, now what I've done is I've unlocked all of the text, so I've got access to everything in through here at this point in time. And so what we end up having is we have a few that are still available. Now this is done in alphabetical order. So remember that there's three aspects to defining a ship type or ship doctrine. You've got your ship type, which you cannot change. We've chosen a cruiser. We have the cruiser. The cruisers come in with a medium hull and have got increased weapon range. That's what we get with a cruiser. Can't change that. Next is the operational ability. We've gone with barrage. Now there's only 4 of these available if you've got the free version. Not the free version. You've got the base version of the game, version 2.5. You've got barrage. You've got defender. What else have you got? You've got giant slayer. This is what's used by the sort of small ships. You can sort of see the different sorts of damage against the different types of ships that actually do then happen against everything when you sort of have a bit of a look at that one through there. The other one that you have, is it precision? Yeah, I think it's precision. I think that's the one that I think you end up with getting with the fighters. But they're the ones you actually have. But look at all the others that you can then add in, like ace. Plus 75% accuracy against fighters. If you're going up against someone with heaps and heaps of fighters, bang! There's your operational ability for whatever it might be. You might sort of design some ships that are just purely there to take down fighter craft. Assassin, like plus 50% attack, plus 25% weapon cooldown back in through here. And so this one here actually will sort of then go and add, so weapon cooldown is the time it takes for a weapon to rearm. And so this one is slow but does more damage. So the assassin is like a one-hit wonder type thing, if it can sort of get like an accurate attack going in. And so there's all these different things, like we've got blitz, plus 50% tactical speed, but at the cost of accuracy. We've got rush, we've got the 25% tactical speed. I thought that was one that we'd seen before as well. No, it might be on the other side. Command, we saw that one before when we were looking at the actual different things. Focus fire, plus 10% attack. Fortress, plus 100% hit points, but minus 75% tactical speed. So a slow behemoth type ship, like just very, very slow. Like, imagine a missile, ship, like a missile battleship or something that can fire at extreme range. And with this thing here, just makes it really, really difficult to bring down. Things like this, Giant Slayer, we saw that again with 50% against large and huge ships, which is what the bombers have got. The bombers didn't have that before, by the way. This is all new in this version of the game. Ghost, so you've got extra evasion. Hunters, so plus 25% attack and accuracy against frigates and corvettes. You've got long shot. Precision we spoke about before, skirmisher. So we have minus 75% weapon cooldown, but at the expense of range. But this is dramatic. Like, this is something where you're just going to be peppering away all the time at the once you're getting close. Imagine a like a fighter with this on it. Like I'm thinking of all the different ways you can actually deck out a fighter craft to make it good with this one. The sniper, I guess that's a little bit like the assassin. This is attack and weapon cooldown. The sniper will be long range, I'm guessing. Where was sniper? Yeah, actually that's accuracy. We've got long shot down through there. Yeah, there's just heaps and heaps. Assault, so this is minus 50% weapon cooldown. Sentinel, plus 75% against bombers. So yeah, again, very specialised doctrines if you're wanting to go that way. Or you can just let the AI just do its thing and just go with its default. But this is really quite awesome. And then you've also then got the targeting priority. And so in this instance, again, the free version, because you can't edit them in the free version, or not the free, in the base version of the game, you end up with smallest combatants. This is your fighter, bomber, frigate grouping. You have bombers as well, like bomber, corvettes, and destroyers. It's going to be sort of like what the orders are through there. So these are available. You also have largest combatants, so going from dreadnought, battleship, destroyer, sort of going down through the list down through here, essentially, going for, like, essentially it's huge, large, medium, essentially, is how this is actually then sort of working. If you're sort of looking at the actual sizing, this is small, small. Actually, that's still small as well, and then up to the medium size back in through here as well. What else do you have? Return fire is another one that is also supported. So return fire only is capital ships, cruisers, and fighters. But really, the other things you then can do if you've got the Warlords DLC is to plug in all these others, like gunships going for frigates, and because at the moment, like in the non-Warlords version, your frigates are sort of have a bit of a charmed life because there's very few things that will target them directly. There's things that will target the small craft, and then there's things that will target the large ships. So if you've got like it's up until now, you can actually have your frigates, just sort of living in between those two extremes and really only being attacked when all the fighters are blown up or when all of your cruisers are blown up, or anything larger, for example. And so the frigates, you didn't have to really worry too much about armor or anything like that with, but that's now changed in the game because of the different sorts of targeting, because now you can target them directly, go after the gunships. You've got frontline combatants, so frigate, corvette, and fighter. So, for example, just going after the ships that do move in fast to do the attacking. So frigates are no longer the charmed vessel of space. Capital ships like cruiser, destroyer, battleships are going from your mediums up to your huge support ships. So just literally going after the ships at the back, like your siege ships and things like this. So you can actually have, if you need to very quickly sort of try to just get in, it's suicide run, it's kamikaze time for your bombers or whatever it might be. You might just set them up to just go straight after the siege ships and try to blow them out of orbit, just at the expense of your fleet, essentially, to be able to do that one. Attack closest in through here as well, so just capital ships, cruisers, fighters, etc. But it's they all have their own sort of like way of operating. You can chop and change these around. It really does give you a lot of choice now. With the combination of all three of these, you can really start to structure something quite interesting for the actual combat itself. Anyway, that's the doctrines. What else is there to talk about? Well, let's talk about ship design and the difference. I mean, we've done the ship classes and sort of how they sort of work with the doctrines, but let's just go and build a ship. Let's go and build a battleship as an example. This is actually one of the other issues that I have where the game currently is with the user interface. Once you sort of get out of the actual doctrine screen, you don't get to see what the doctrine is. And I would love to be, if I choose a ship, I would prefer to see up around here somewhere or anywhere, like whether it be out in the game or wherever else it might be. I want to see those doctrines, and you don't get to see them really until you're right in the middle of combat or something like that. And I think that should be accessible. So that's another little bit of feedback that I have given back to Stardock. But let's just go across and add in a new design. So we've got, actually it's only showing those because I've only just unlocked these other ones. So what I'll do is I'll just run it forward a turn. I think we're in uncharted territory here. So this one is only showing the updated designs. I think that may be sort of what's going on there. Let's just go back down into, in fact, if we go back into, well, let's actually got the frigate selected. If we go to new ship class, it's sort of funny. I can sort of start with an unclassified one, and I don't know if this is allowable in the game. So I'm unsure whether you can actually sort of start off with an unclassified and just go to town with that. I think that there'll be some changes in there. But let's go down to our battleships. Just go and select it. This is a large hull size, 77 equipment space, and then we can then just talk about what this one actually does do. So with this particular battleship, before I get started, I do actually have, it's got extra armor coming back in. Actually, the other one is the command ship that comes in, but let's just go with the battleship in through here. It's got extra precision, but we may sort of have an idea of how we want to then design this particular ship, and I really don't, so I'm not sure what I want to do. But if I go to edit doctrine, what do we want the battleship to do? We probably do want it to stay with the largest combatants and really just slug it out with them. But instead of precision, let's go with that other one that we sort of saw there with the fortress. Let's go and make it into a fortress style. So if we go and classify that one, that should, yeah, there we go. So operation ability is now fortress against the largest combatants. It's just going to be a large battleship. So this will then sort of make it into something that's going to be slow, but slow and steady, essentially. So we'll save that doctrine. So this is our battleship, backing through here, and we'll just start the new design. And so we have our actual hull. I'm not going to worry too much about sort of how you then edit the actual ships themselves. I really just want to go through the different sorts of things we now actually have that we can then go and do. Now there's a heap of extra stuff that's been added into the to the base game, as well as a heap of extra things added into Warlords. And so you've got all sorts of different modules that then do come in. And I've got like a list off to the side that I'm sort of having a bit of a look at to sort of see what's what, with what you get. And there's so much you get. I'm just trying to see like things like the vampire module. I'm not sure if this is free or not. What else do we have? These are all the offensive weapons, of course, down through here. But the vampire module so enhances the functionality of all weapons on the equipped ship, allowing damage done to targets to be absorbed and converted into repairs for the equipped ship. So these are the sorts of unusual things you can now sort of add in. We'll see even more of them as we get into there. Where else do we have it? We've got enhanced different things in there. Glue-on disintegrator. I don't know if these are now in the base game as well. This is like a different type of weapon. So again, it's just really a beam attack where the beam accuracy goes right up. So there's a lot more nuance in the actual in this types of weapons that you now have available to you. As I say, just awesome stuff. Trying to sort of think of other things. Klein's Dread. That's a missile attack. There's just heaps and heaps. Heaps and heaps of stuff that they've added in. And as I say, probably half of the extras are available now in version 2.5. Your defenses, you've got a few things like you start off with chaff fairly early, for example. The E-web, I'm not sure about this one. Just looking at the list of what I can see, it goes right off the screen, so I can't even see what's what. I was just hoping to sort of be able to show some things like the Higgs field crusher. I'm not sure if that's in here. There's just such a long list of things that they've added in that sort of then do different types of things in through here, like different sorts of laminates, platings, etc. Fleet shield provides a shield to every ship in the fleet. Wow, that's actually fairly cool. So shield strength of 10. So there's things like this that you then get to add in. You've then got your drives as well. Probably won't be very many changes in with this, I wouldn't think. And then you've got the specials as well. And there'll be a lot of extra stuff then added into here as well. So repair nanites, assault shuttles. Oh, this is actually really interesting. So this is actually new, again, only for Warlords players. But you've actually got short-range transport shuttles that allow assault marines to board hostile vessels. Assault marines specialise in close-quarter combat associated with battles on ships. When assault marines successfully board and wipe out a ship, they claim the ship for the civilization, changing its ownership. So you've got that one there, but that can also then be done with star bases. So again, it's completely changing the layout of how the game can then be played. Marine berthing, so berthing units give housing and defence to defence marines, which will resist the boarding actions of hostile units. So you've sort of got that one in through there as well. How big are they? They're only 7 mass. That's that one's a lot of mass, 18 mass. So you'd really only be wanting to do this with dedicated ships that are there to assault and take over ships. But again, it's just going to change the way you play the game. It's just awesome. Mining laser back in through here can build asteroid mining bases. That's interesting. So that's a very specialised type of ship. Again, these aren't just all combat type things. There's your carrier module. So carries 4 fast and deadly assault fighters. Yep, so that's the mass is 50, so it's actually fairly big. Repair bays, +2 fleet repair per month, so this would be good for the command ships as an example. Antimatter bombs, yeah, just heaps and heaps of stuff. There's so much that's been added in. It's mind-blowing, really, just what they've actually been able to put into the DLC, but also into the free update. So if you haven't played the game for a month, get it out and dust it off and play it again. But I would suggest restarting. Like if you're playing an old version, just close that one down and restart because of the changes to the tech tree more than anything, actually, just to sort of have it so that it all sort of plays nicely. What I might do now is I've pretty much covered, I think. I might just have a quick look and see if there's anything else I've missed before I go on to and show you what we're going to be then doing with the live stream. Actually, before I do that, I've just been looking through the list of the different sorts of equipment that we actually have available, and look, I think I've pretty much covered all the changes that have come into the actual game itself, other than the example of how it's actually played. But just going through the actual list, it's actually easier. Like, there's more in the base version than there are in the Warlords DLC of all these extra different bits and pieces. So, for example, the assault shuttles are so I'll just go through the things that I can see in this list that actually are for the base version. Sorry, for the Warlords DLC. So, assault shuttles and sort of taking over ships is Warlords. Marine berthing, that should be Warlords as well, I would guess. It's not. Oh, yes, it is. Yep, so I'm just looking at the list there. Other things down through here, I'm not sort of noticing too much. Let's just go back to the others. Shattering Pulse, that'll be a different sort of assault weapon. E-Web reduces the damage done by kinetic attacks. This is actually Warlords only. There should be a UV field as well. Can't see that one, wherever that one is. Yeah, I'm not seeing it there. Maybe it's under here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so UV field is produces emissions that disorient targets to such a degree that it causes them to take increased damage. Only affects ammonia-based life forms. There we go. That's actually a really specific anti-ammonia-based life forms weapon. The vampire module is also. These are both. Warlords only. Shattering Pulse is Warlords only. So emits signals that disorient targets. This is for silicon-based life forms. The Theron Ray is again, that would be Warlords only. This is actually only for like it radiates a beam that disorientates targets to such a degree it causes them to take increased damage. Only affects like carbon-based life forms. The Time Dilator, is that yeah, that's Warlords only as well. So uses intense bursts of gravitation to warp time dilation in a localized area to halt the cooldown of a target's weapons. So that's a bit like the Iron. Now the Iron Cannon is also Warlords only, but I've seen like this one you get fairly early on. And so this one can disable, so fires an ionized blast of energy to disable a target's evasion capability, so it makes them easier to hit. So that in conjunction with standard weaponry is going to be very, very cool. So we've got those different things down through there. So they're all essentially just Warlords only. I wonder if the other one's in through here. Cloaking devices. Yep, cloaking devices is Warlords only. Neutron Scrambler. Yes, that's Warlords only. The shield bubble. Yep, Warlords only. Reflector I don't think is. Yeah, anyway. So there's a lot of extras in the base game, and there's still a lot of very nuanced extras for the Warlords DLC. Right, well, let's get back out of here, and I'll then just go through and I'll reload back in my game and just show you where we're up to with the actual game itself, and then we'll come back in over the coming days and do some live streams. I just did a whole presentation and realised that I just looked up and thought, oh my God, I've got my my recording on pause, so I'll do it all again. I'll be better the second time. That was what someone once told me, years and years and years ago. He said, never get upset if something goes wrong and you've done all this work and it's because it's the second time you do it, you'll do it twice as fast. I've never forgotten it. I thought it's a positive way to look at something that's that can be quite annoying. Anyway, let's get into it. We're playing here. Pralina Prime is our capital. Let's have a look and see who we actually are. So we just go back into the data bank. We are the Feline Vanguard Warriors. Now, just to again recap of what's happened with the development of the game. We're playing with version 2.5, which, as I said before, is the Ares update. It's focused on combat. The one before this was the Populi. They're sort of using Greek words. So actually, that must be more Latin more than Greek. But the Populi update was all about the civilizations, and so the AI generation now of random civilizations is really coming along beautifully. And one of the things that you sort of do with that is you just give it a few little keywords and away you go. Now, one thing that I was live streaming to set this one up, and I just asked people, okay, look, let's just get a few basics down and then just see what we end up with. And there's a whole lot of new citizens that were added in 2.4. And so, and the vote essentially was to play as the Feline Fatales, which essentially are cat girls. So we're playing as the cat girls in this particular version of the game. So these are mysterious and agile. The Feline Fatales are known for their quick reflexes and curious but often dangerous nature. Now, the way it works is the actual citizen types themselves are sort of pre-constructed in the game. The description of them is changed with the description of the actual group. So even though they were called the Feline Fatales, I did use the word Feline Fatale in my description for the AI generation, just so I knew that they would actually then go and pick the actual citizen type. So that's sort of how that one then worked. Other things you then sort of choose beforehand is often the can be things like civilization traits. You can change them at any time. The carbon-based or whatever type of like, you know, whether it be aquatics or whatever else it might actually be, will then all sort of be done with the you generally do that one beforehand. We went with starfaring, which gives us 25% ship range, which isn't very important, to be honest, and starts with the ability to detect and travel on subspace streams. None of those were really all that critical for us. We do end up with the allows Translate Hub planetary improvement and allows the central borehole planetary improvement at the expense of the capital mainframe and the industrial centre. So just a difference in through there. This is probably one of the weaker of the civilization abilities. I wasn't choosing for min-maxing, I was just choosing for fun. Voyages as well, so we get +2 ship sensor range, which is actually really quite important in the game to be able to see where the threats are coming from, and +1 ship moves as well, so we get a bit more speed. So these are actually very cool. We went with rich, so we end up with 10% extra income for all our worlds. Having said that, money has been a massive problem for us as we've been playing, and so we've had to send out treasure ships to go off and try to find treasure around the cosmos to bring the loot back. And so when we have a look at the timeline, you'll sort of see all that in there. We are fast. I just had to double check and make sure that I am actually still now not got it paused again. We're fast, so we get another +2. So we get the +1 from Voyages plus another +2, so +3 overall. So we can really move quickly. And again, I was trying to think of what would be cat-like in the approach. Miners gives us that extra line of tech that we ended up getting in the actual, in the tech tree, in the logistics tech tree. There was like a special tech, and that's where this one came through. So you can see there allows the mining missions tech. So it's not just one tech, it's actually a whole stream of them. Meek, we went with as well, just so we don't use intimidation. I was just sort of thinking if you had cat ears, you're not going to be all that intimidating. So we're Empress Silvara Clawrend, again, all randomly generated by the AI. So anyway, have a read of that if you want to pause and have a bit of a read of it. But it's very cool the way the game sort of sets things up with the generation of the different groups, the different types. So eventually they're going to need a way to actually be able to bring in more citizen types. They need almost like an AI generation for citizens. I don't know if they'll ever be able to do that effectively, but hopefully at some point in the future that will actually then come. Timeline-wise, we've got faction power. Now we are this sort of pinkish sort of coral colour. The Drengen are the red colour. They're our neighbours. And then we've got the Manti, which is in another cluster. They're the sort of greenish. We've got the Festron Hunt, the Yaw, and the Memot are in the same group that we're in. So they're sort of like they're coming in the blue colour down the bottom through there. So in faction, in overall power ratings, we're coming third, but we're up there, which is actually fine. Economic power, we're doing okay, even though we're not really generating much money. Military power, we're right up there. We're right at the very, very top, which is great, but the Drengen are building up. Population-wise, there's the 3 of us that are at the very, very top. It's just the Yaw who haven't been building any more robots. They have a different way of constructing their forces. Influence-wise, we're doing okay. Manufacturing, we're doing okay. The Drengen are a fair way out ahead of us, but that's what they're always going to be that way. That's the way that they're geared. Research, we are middle of the road, but we've been sort of struggling a little bit, so I need to boost that if we can. Approval, we're coming last, but that doesn't matter so much. It would be great to be up here. This is largely to do with the difficulty setting that we're playing with the game. Treasury itself has been terrible for a large portion of the late portion of the game. Like when we've just been sort of skimming around the zeros, we're starting to now pick it up because we are sending out the treasure ships. So that's sort of how we're now picking up extra money, even though you can see they're negative 16 per month is a massive expense with what's actually happening for us. And we have our taxation up pretty high and all sorts of different things. It's just not working for us. And prestige, not very important, but doing well in that area as well. Reports I won't bother going through. Stats can be interesting to sort of see. We're coming last with most credits. Now, this is the... I think this is averaged out over time. Like everyone else, if you look at the Drengens, they've got heaps more potential, I guess. Yeah, a lot more through all of these different areas and through there. So we've got we're doing fairly well across a lot of the measurements. Core worlds. This is what I was talking about. I would love something like this for the citizens as well. But this is the core worlds themselves are like the approval is always an important one to have a bit of a look at. And so approval wise, we're doing okay across the board there. The numbers, you can see that we've only got like a couple of planets really that can actually end up with good numbers of population. Like our research world ultimately will be good for that one. And we really should start to send like we do actually have some good scientists on Pralina Prime that we should be able to send across to Research World. In fact, I think we only just got the ability to actually create scientists, and we had a lot of really dumb scientists, and we've got some people that are really, really clever that aren't scientists. So we'll probably do a reshuffle when we do the live streams, I think. Treaties-wise, we've just got open borders with the Drengens and the Memots, the 2 that share our sector. Our sector is here, so we control this area through here. The Drengen are in this pocket. They have to get through us to get through to the other sector. And then we've got the Memots in through this other side as well. So I think I'm sort of in 2 minds as to how to play this, whether to take on the Drengen and try to wipe them out when we actually do the live streams, or to go into this other sector, because we've got both the Festron Hunt, which are traditionally quite dangerous, and we also then have the Yaw as well, which are also traditionally quite dangerous in this other sector, and we happen to be right on the entry into this particular location. So I've put a military starbase into here, and we're sort of that thing sort of develop. Then we've just got the other sort of more friendly group in there. We may even sort of switch our freighter network to actually go this way, so we can then focus on the Drengen, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll do that in the live stream anyway. So anyway, I hope that you guys can join me in those live streams. That should be good fun, I think. We're sort of, as I say, I wanted to get to a point in the game where I could then start to take the game out and do some combat rather than just building up. So we've done our exploration, we've done our initial expansion. We're really up to the extermination side of things pretty much, even though the world is, or the galaxy is quite a friendly place at this point in time. We've got some reasons to do things. There's a few Drengen star bases that were built here before our borders expanded. So that could be a reason that we use to go to war with them. They're certainly going to be very, very strong. But this will be interesting to then go and analyse what they've got, so we can then figure out the best composition for our fleets as well. Hope that's been interesting, and I do look forward to you guys joining me if you're going to be around for these live streams. So even if you look at them afterwards. But when I'm doing any live stream, if I'm on Twitch or if we're doing it, then please feel free to ask questions about the game, and I'll do my best to sort of answer whatever I possibly can. If you're wanting to see something in particular, then the whole idea of doing these live streams is to make it so that you guys get a little bit more information about whether it's a sort of game that you would be wanting to play or not. For me, it's become by far the best Gal Civ game out there. Like it's like by an absolute mile. I've loved a lot of them in the past. Like Gal Civ 2 was one of my favourite games. Gal Civ 3 not so much. Gal Civ 4 when it first came out was middle of the road for me, but now it's right up there. Like it's an exceptional Space 4X game. Anyway, guys, going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. My name is DasTactic, as I said at the start. Please like and subscribe if you like this sort of content, and I will catch you hopefully on one of the live streams. I'll see you soon. And unfortunately, as is always the case with these sorts of big updates, I've completely missed a few of the other important things that I should have mentioned, particularly to do with wars and warfare, which we will get into in the live streams. But just to quickly go through them, essentially now when you declare war, one of the problems with the game, or one of the sort of one of the issues with the game before this version was the fact that you'd go into wars and often they would just feel like wars of annihilation. As soon as a war started, you're in that war until the bitter end. They've tried to address that with different war goals. It's not specific to different things, but I think the longer a war drags on, the more it's going to then impact your own happiness. I believe that's sort of how that one does work. I haven't really played with this all that much, but let's just go and I'll show you how this one works in Warlords anyway. If we go across into diplomacy, and I will actually just pick on the Drengen. So if we've got the Drengen in through here, you can see there we've got we're cordial with them. The only problem we have is a -1 with cultural differences at this other stage. These are as well. So these guys here, they're unfriendly. Actually, maybe they would be the better one to go up against. But let's just do the Drengen because I do have a fleet of ships where I can show a few of the other little things that are also in the game. Cultural differences, they didn't respond to the death of Memots in there as well, and you revealed our secrets. So we've had a few instances where these are becoming less friendly. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll declare war against the Drengen. So I just go to speak to. Now, previously you would go, it's time for you to die, which was always actually in there. But now when you do this, you've then got to opt in and say yes. I didn't click that by accident. Yeah, you heard me. Then we've got the war aims. So select your war aim carefully to create a rationale for your actions in the eyes of both your citizens and the larger galactic community. So this is important. If the war goes on for too long, it's going to affect your citizens' morale, unless you choose, for example, a war of annihilation. But if you choose a war of annihilation, you then end up getting a clear and present danger trait, which is sort of like a bad boy type trait, where you end up where the rest of the civilizations think, hang on, this is a dangerous neighbour to have around, and so they get a -4 to all their diplomacy if you go that way. But your citizens are more than likely to be with you for the long term. So you've got, like, from just a war of defence, a short-term war with the intent to preempt aggression and protect borders. Declaring a war of defence carries minor diplomatic penalties. So it's easier to get back out of these wars. Like, the wars will last a limited time, and then from there sort of move into back into diplomacy and sort of extending up. We've got war of expansion, so a moderate length war with the intent to expand borders and spread influence. Declaring a war of expansion results in diplomatic penalties, and so you gain like a -1 in through here, a -2. This is with everyone. War of conquest, a long-term war with the intent to claim vast expanses of enemy territory. Declaring a war of conquest comes with harsher diplomatic penalties. So that's a -3. And then finally, a prolonged war with the intent to wipe out the enemy civilization, declaring a war of annihilation. And the game sort of had defaulted to this. This is why this has been added in. And so if we just wanted to sort of just go after a few star bases or something like this, then we probably just choose this one here, just so it doesn't impact everyone else anywhere near as much. This will rust away. Like these amounts will then sort of clear away after some time. But you have to be careful, like the way that you sort of now declare the wars. So if we go and declare a war with this one, So be it, war it is, goodbye. But we should be able to then get out of it a little bit more easily when it's time to get out of it. So we don't have specific goals. We don't have like a specific thing, we need to destroy this or that before the war will end. It doesn't work that way. We can stay in the war for as long as we like, but there are penalties for us to do that. So we've got that one established in through there. We'll just go and click on done. Actually, before I do that, if I then go back in, we'll then sort of see we've got the aggressive neighbour. We've got the -1 at the bottom there with all of these. And so so these are all going to be, in fact, they probably are not the one that we should have done this one with. Because ultimately, like when we actually play the game, because the yaw are also heading in a negative direction quite strongly. So maybe the yaw would have been the better one, or the Memots, either one of these would have been the better one for us to actually then start the process with. But again, you now have to manage this diplomatic sort of status as well with your war aims. And so if you just go and click on done, and then we can sort of start to do the actual combat. So that's one thing. When we actually go and invade planets, we now actually also in the Warlords area, you have a whole range of different types of attacks that you then go and do. And I think probably the easiest way for me to show that is just in the tech tree. Just go to the tech navigator. And we'll go to logistics is usually where these things actually are. They're sort of, some of them are spread around, but we've got the the space doctrine unlocks the frigate class ships, which essentially gives us the siege module, like you can sort of see it in through there, which allows us to then get siege ships. So that's that one. Come on. Yeah, siege module in through there, which allows us to then conduct sieges. Now, when we conduct a siege, we have different ways of doing this. One of them, by default, everyone has orbital bombardment. Come on, game. There we go. So use ship-mounted artillery to wreak havoc and destruction across the planet. The devastation caused by an orbital bombardment makes a world easier to conquer at the cost of favour and infrastructure. And so orbital bombardment essentially is the default. So if you're just playing with the base game, this is the one that you have all the time, and it's the only one you get to do as your way of softening a planet up, ready for the actual invasion itself. Like the invasion mechanic is not troops on the ground as such. It's still abstracted fairly highly, but we now actually have these different choices with how we go in and present for these types of attacks. So we've got orbital bombardment. A few of the other ones we've got as we sort of come back down through. Planetary mobilization is nothing. Planetary invasion is a new one here. Surface invasion. So surface invasion. So it puts units on the planet's surface to conduct an invasion. Units can minimize infrastructure damage, but the ensuing battle will cost some lives, and those that survive will take longer to adapt to the new authority. So you become a bit more sort of authoritarian with your actual approach, but the infrastructure isn't destroyed. So there's more nuance now to the actual combat. As we sort of come back through, we've got drone soldiers. These have got like a shatter attack. And so you use targeted frequencies that cause physical damage to silicon-based life forms, facilitate a faster invasion without damaging the existing infrastructure, but damaging the planet's raw materials. And so you have these different things where you end up essentially sort of like with different different approaches with the actual combat itself. I won't go through them in too much detail. We'll certainly have a look at those when we get into the live streams and sort of move our way through there. But there's things like propaganda. There's all sorts of different ones that you can unlock in different phases of the I'm guessing propaganda will come in through here somewhere. Not sure where that one will come in. There should be something in through this other side, I would imagine. No, not sure where it is. Anyway, it's in here somewhere. It's in here somewhere. So but that's actually sort of where we end up with a few different ways of actually approaching planetary invasions. What else is there? I might just quickly show a sample of combat, just so you can sort of see a few of the changes that have been made to the battle viewer as well. This is across the board, so everyone gets this, whether you get the Warlords DLC or not. I'll just go back out. You know, it's funny. I sort of I finished recording everything, and then I actually woke up. It's the middle of the night for me, which I wake up anyway at that time. But I then realised, oh my God, I haven't shown the invasions, I haven't shown the war aims, or I haven't shown the battle viewer. So let's just go in. I do actually have a fleet of ships here with just enough movement to go in and then start the attack on this particular deep space mining base. Now this is it's showing us there the battle prediction. We're going to take moderate casualties, and they're going to it's a total loss for them. Let's just have a look and see. I won't go through the nuance of the different targeting, but because it's just a one versus many type situation. But we'll just go in and actually do an attack. And so we can always cancel back out of these if we don't want to do it. But let's just watch the battle. So there's been some little changes to the way that this is presented. Let's just pause that for 1 second. Now I've got it turned on already, but this actually that's the HUD itself. Ship HUDs. I had them on. Ship HUDs are new, and what these are is it shows you essentially the defenses of the ship itself. So the shielding and the armor. And so as a ship takes damage, you now get a visual representation. Oh, sorry, it's the hit points down the bottom through there. So defenses and hit points. So as we sort of play out this particular battle, there'll be it missed. It's telling us what's actually happened now as well. Other things different with this one as well. Like we've always got to show the battle log. This has been improved a little bit with what's actually going on. So we can hide the battle log. We've got the list of ships we can sort of bring back up in through here. We can also get a battle log, and I haven't really show the battle log for just a particular ship, so we can sort of see what happens. Let's just play this one out a little bit. So they're now firing at this frigate. So these are now firing away. Let's just wait until we've got a little bit here. I'll just go to top down again. You can see there that the defences have now been knocked out of alignment with this one here. The little ship is still in there. The little ship is still in there. This thing is now taking some damage. So if we go back across to here and have a look at the actual battle log, this is the battle log that concerns essentially this particular ship. So we can see very, very specific battle log now. If you're trying to analyse what's actually happened, we then get to see a lot more detail than what we've seen there before. And so we can sort of see the damage that's sort of done to different aspects. Like, for example, in Phase 8, this particular ship, which is a fighter, and the two fighters actually essentially were attacking in this instance, and did some damage where the shield absorbed it but was drained down. So we're seeing a lot more detail in the battle log now than what we've seen before. Again, we're going to be going through this in detail in the live streams, but I thought I'd just sort of show this just so you can sort of see what's going on. Of course, one thing we don't see with this is the actual, it's got the doctrine, but it doesn't show the doctrine. And I wish it would. Yeah, it's got it sort of, it doesn't actually present the doctrine, even though there's a space there for it. On our ships as well, well, we've got barrage. Actually, it's got barrage there and smallest combatants. Well, these are the doctrines, I guess. Yeah. So it's just summarising them here. This is probably the only real place in the game, other than when you're designing ships, that you get to see it. But it doesn't. It's not explaining things. This is another thing I hope that they do change. This one's got. It's funny. It's got barrage there, but for none. That looks to be a bit of a bug. Anyway, that's early days with the game. Of course, it gets updated all the time with different things. So when we see things like that, that will then be that should then be changed. Where was it? None. Yeah, it's sort of funny, the weapon cooldown, and I think it's I'm not sure if that's actually applying or not, but for whatever reason, none is coming up as barrage. I wonder if I go to one of the others. I'll just go and select this one as an example. Defender, yeah, that one's working. If I go back to this one with none, yeah, it's remembering whatever the last one was. So it doesn't actually have one, but it is just remembering what the last one actually was there. But anyway, the battle viewer has had a lot of attention, a lot of love and attention, and so as we sort of play this one out, let's see the shielding coming down. this thing's going to be destroyed. And again, I can just have a look at the battle log from the perspective of this particular ship, with what it fired out, what it received from different damage coming back in, the different sorts of amounts of damage done to the actual ship itself. So it's very, very cool the way it sort of does work with this. Anyway, look, I won't keep on going with it, but that is essentially. I think I've now covered everything. As I say, I woke up thinking, I haven't shown this, haven't shown that. You know, there's so much in this update. It's just an incredible update. This is one thing that does annoy me, is like this ship's already been destroyed. In terms of what's going on, it's still in the viewer doing different things, and it's probably, if we have a look at the battle log itself, it may. Yeah, it's often this will then take time to catch up. So these aren't in sync. And I really hope that they do get them in sync at some point. It's sort of frustrating to not have all three aspects sort of doing what they're working at the same time. There we go. Now it's blown up there, but it's still active here. I think it'll then come up in the next phase. It's missed. I'll just see it until it. Yeah, there it is there. So it's a fair way after. And this is something that, sorry, I'm in the way. Just move out of the way. It says destroyed. My chair's in the way. There we go. But it's, so that's does actually have the information, but not directly at the same time that you're sort of seeing things happening on screen. So there's a bit of, for me, I hope that they can actually clean this up as well and make everything sort of end up coming, like being shown from the result rather than shown out of sync, essentially with what does go on in the actual combat itself. It'd probably be hard for them to do that, but anyway, that's something that I do hope that they do get to do at some stage. Anyway, that's I think I'll leave it here, guys. So we'll just click on done. But this is as I say, be doing the live streams. Hope you can join me there. I think I've now covered everything in this update. It's been a big update. Anyway, I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. Blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff.